What's up, YouTube? It's Brendan's Blends, and I'm back with another video. Yes, I am here today again. It is what it is, man. Get used to seeing my face. Let me be as humble as possible. I know I have not created any self-cut content in a while, but to be honest, it is a little difficult and different to be able to cut my own hair. I actually do like my hair getting cut. When it comes down to self-cuts are a little more complicated than it looks. It requires a lot of attention to detail, and right now I do just like getting my hair cut by a barber, but I am going to come out with more content. And when I say more content, I mean content as in content of me cutting other people, because I am blessed and able to be in an opportunity to be able to do that. So in due time, for those who watch me and support me, and I thank you guys for your support, I will be able to post more haircut and barbering videos. So bear with me. But as you can see by the title is basically anything that's gonna give me clicks, man. Come on, man, you already know it's anything that's gonna give me clicks, man. This is how I move, this is how I function, this is why I'm up here. People that don't try as hard as me are down here, To be honest, to elevate yourself, man, you gotta do what you gotta do, man. I've heard people bot their views and stuff like that, man, and geez, it is hard in this field, man, I'm telling you, okay? So as you can see by the title is whatever is gonna get me clicks, okay? And just know I don't bot my views, okay? I'm real and authentic. There's a lot of fake people out here. To be honest, some of the fake people can't even make it on YouTube. But look, I'm here, okay? And I thank you guys for supporting me. I thank my viewership for supporting me as always. So today, I'm going to be actually talking about fashion statements, and what fashion actually really is to certain people. For me, growing up, fashion, to be honest, I didn't really have too much of a clue or sense of what fashion was. I dressed how I dressed. My mother dressed me, but I just dressed how I dressed. As when you're younger, your parents dress you. When you're an infant, when you're a child, when you're even in your early teens, your parents dress you, right? As I started to be able to understand the concept of clothing and style, I was able to dress myself. And when it comes to dressing myself, I'm not gonna sit here and lie. Like when you're in 6th grade, dude, like it's bubblegum and candy. You know what I mean? Like everyone has braces, everyone's breath stinks, and you're in a school full of people, and there's that annoying kid that tries to annoy everybody. There's that big-headed, annoying brat that just talks about everything and just wants to harass people. There's remedial people. There's remedial people. There's people that are supposed to be normal, but they don't act normal, right? There's a bunch of different people. I'm not trying to dig too much into remedial people, okay? I've never been remedial. I'm not trying to dig too deep into remedial, okay? But I personally think if you wake up as a 6th grader and your destiny and your goal is to annoy people with your hot ass breath and your messed up teeth each and every single day, I think you don't deserve happiness, okay? And I think you should get the worst of the worst. But as a 6th grader, dude, I created my own fashion. I wore Aeropostale. I don't know if you guys know what Aeropostale is, because I'm sure a lot of people don't anymore, because Aeropostale used to be up here, but Aeropostale dipped down like 10 years ago. Aeropostale dipped so far down that when I was walking at the bus stop, I saw a Hispanic dude that was wearing work boots and an Aeropostale shirt, okay? And I was like, damn, that's what I used to rock in middle school? Hispanic parents had it, you know what I'm saying? And I'm not trying to bash my Hispanic parents, I'm not trying to be messed up or anything like that, but I mean, when parents have clothes, when parents are rocking clothes, you used to rock in middle school, but it's not fashion. But I remember I would rock like Aeropostale, I would rock Levi's. Levi's had its time. I'm not gonna sit here and lie. Levi's had its time. It still does to an extent. I think if Levi's caught up to the fashion trends of what is currently out right now, whether it's ripped jeans or whether it's, you know, overly baggy jeans or whether it's, you know, some type of cargos. I think Levi's would, you know, would be efficient. But to be honest, Levi's, if you're looking for some Levi's, go to your nearest Marshall or JCPenney, okay? Because they'll have it, okay? They'll have more than you need, okay? They'll have a whole bunch. That's what Marshalls is. Marshalls has everything, okay? Marshalls has Levi's. Marshalls basically has every single clothes or every single piece of clothing that has been rejected from main stores, okay? But at the end of the day, Marshalls is a good grab. You're gonna save about $20 instead of buying something that's expensive compared to something that is cheaper, like Levi's or you know, just some random brand, you know. But you know, I would rock Levi's. You know, I rock you know, Chuck Taylors. And to be honest, fashion really crept up on me, you know, because when I talk fashion, it wasn't like I just threw on clothes and went to school. You know, when you're in school, there's a lot of people that, you know, that want to talk for you and, you know, say stuff to you and, you know, and dictate who you are and this and that, you know. But, you know, when you can outsmart the person that thinks that they're smart, then you realize that there's a lot of stuff that you can do. So with me, fashion came into play. And when I started rocking different clothes and when I started dressing a little better, it kind of gave me my own image and it kind of gave me my own perspective of who I really was. And unfortunately, at a certain point in time, it was harder for me to get my hands on certain clothes because you gotta understand, I was in middle school. Look, I'm 29 right now, okay? I'm an adult, okay? But to be honest, I don't even think I'm punk yet, okay? Because when I rewind to high school, bro, I'm only rewinding about 11 years, okay? 11 years. 11 years is a lot, okay? Because in 11 years, people that are, you know, 60, 70, you know what I'm saying? They're gonna be 80, you know, or people that are 80, they're gonna be in the grave. Rest in peace. But look, when it comes down to it, I'm not necessarily that old, but when I was going to school and when I was, you know, dressing up and stuff like that, I didn't have my own money. I couldn't get a job, you know. Unfortunately, that's how America works. You can't get your own job. I had to get money from my parents, from my mother. You feel me? So my mother would give me money to be able to go buy clothes at the mall. You know, the mall was lit, you know. You know, as a young kid with braces on his teeth, you know, and you know, just as much humbleness and swag as I had, you know, the mall was pretty lit. You know, I remember, you know, I would walk through the doors and then, you know, I would Heelys through the hallway. You know, you remember Heelys, man? I don't know if you guys remember that, but I was rocking Heelys, bro. Like, if you didn't have Heelys in the mall, bro, I'm sorry, but you did not have the time of your life. Okay, I had Heelys in the mall, bro. That was amazing. But you know, fashion became my thing, and when it came down to it, you know, fashion really made a statement in my life. And to be honest, I really think fashion is something that makes a statement in people's life. Fashion is a staple in people's life because there's a lot of people in this country, in this world, you know, that don't have any fashion sense. And to be honest, when you don't have any fashion sense and you look like you're a cross-dresser, but then you talk about somebody that does have fashion sense or somebody that knows color coordination or that knows, you know, specific type of shoes to wear or specific type of clothes or what type of outfit to wear for what event. When somebody that doesn't know how to dress is talking about somebody like that, that's like oil and water. That just doesn't mix, you know. It's harmful to the creator because the creator is the person that is styling himself is art. You feel me? And then the person that, you know, wears, you know, like hand-me-downs and stuff like that, like, you can't really say much, you know what I mean? So there's a big line that should be drawn between those who wear fashion and those who have no fashion sense, you know. And when I say fashion sense, I don't mean just buy some new shoes and cross-dress or whatever, you know. I'm not trying to be rude, but I'm not saying just buy some new shoes and think that you're the freshest, you know, because they sell shoes at Marshalls, they sell shoes at, you know, JCPenney, you know. They sell shoes anywhere. It depends on the right shoes to wear. the right shoes to wear, the right fashion sense to wear, how you fashion. Because okay, let's say for instance you don't get J's that, or you don't get Jordans that are $300 or $200, but instead you get a pair of sneaks that are $60, and you shop at Marshall's, but you get but you style your outfit and your outfit still comes out looking fresh. That's an art, okay? There's not a lot of people that can do that, okay? Because there's a lot of people that will go to Marshall's and look like they came out of Rugged Warehouse, or look like they came out of the thrift store, okay? Because there's even people that can go in the thrift store and look like they came out of Balenciaga's, okay? It's an art, okay? You can't compare somebody that has fashion sense to somebody that doesn't. It's disrespect. I feel like fashion is what makes a community. Fashion is also something that can differentiate or can separate somebody's lifestyle, somebody's perspective of life, or it can just basically set somebody aside and make them different, but not different in a bad way. To be honest, like, I don't like when people will look at somebody's fashion and be like, what is he wearing? Like, nah, you know what I mean? Like, to be honest, if you know that you don't have it on, like, if your fit is not, if you're not putting it on, then you shouldn't talk about somebody that's putting it on. Even if they're wearing some, gothic stuff. I don't know, okay? But look, me personally, I ain't rocking that. But even if they're wearing some gothic stuff, but at the end of the day, it still looks fresh. It still looks fresh, it still looks, trim. I personally think that, you shouldn't single them out or, try to disrespect or hate on them. So fashion, I personally think fashion has carried, to be honest, in my life, fashion has carried me a long way. To be honest, fashion has carried me a long way, because sometimes, you don't want to say much. You don't want to talk, you don't want to say much, and a lot of eyes will be on you, so you really, even if you don't talk, or even if you don't say anything, you feel me, and eyes are on you, then your fashion sense is what dictates what those eyes are gonna think and say. So to be honest, for me, fashion has always been something that I have found interesting. And for those kids that are getting prepared for, middle school, high school, whatever, try, fashion is not Balenciaga's, fashion is not Gucci, you know what I mean? Fashion is whatever looks fresh, okay? Fashion is whatever looks fresh. If you can put that ish on, coming out of a thrift store, okay, and look like you just came out of, H&M or something, dude. Look, that's fashion, okay? Fashion is art, okay? Fashion is making yourself look good with what you have and not being able to spend too much. And even if you do spend too much, or even if you do spend a lot, it's making yourself still look good and still having the clothing fit your body archetype and what the occasion is and how you feel. So fashion is very important. I think fashion, to be honest, me personally, fashion is my art, and I have a lot of other arts, like barbering, content creation, I have a lot of arts, okay? So I am sharing my fashion sense with the world each and every single day. So, I do respect your guys' views, and I appreciate you guys' views. But like I said, man, I have not been able to, post any haircuts or anything like that, but I am getting to it. I am working. God is working, okay? And when God works, things happen, okay? So have faith in me, and I thank you guys for supporting my journey. Stay tuned for the next video. Like, comment, share, subscribe. You already know. It's your boy Brendan's Blends, and I'm out. Peace.